said, that was a really fantastic game number 1. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And Facebook actually leads 1-0. And I'm actually just going to make sure I check the chat. I want to make sure that looks like I'm mispronouncing names left and right. But without being said, I just want to make sure that stream is okay. I want to make sure that there's no issues over there. And once we actually end up getting out of this game, should jump into game number 2. And I believe game number 2 is going to be between Amazon's Zimboss versus Facebook's Gunslinger. And that's going to be a Terran versus Protoss on Daybreak. And Daybreak is one of those classic Wings of Liberty maps that everyone seems to know and love. And honestly, I kind of love that map, actually. It's probably one of my favorite maps in the map pool right now. With that being said, game is going to be made, and just going to go ahead and make sure once again that everything is okay on the stream. Yeah, awesome! Stream looks good so far, and thank you guys so much. And hopefully you guys enjoy my casting. Please go ahead and subscribe to me. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into game number 2 very soon. The players are just getting ready, and when everyone's ready, we're going to go ahead and jump into the game. Terran versus Protoss, I'll be honest right now, it's actually my favorite matchup in the entire game. It is so interesting, and with Heart of the Swarm, there's also the possibility for all of those other kinds of different styles of play that you can end up doing, i.e. mech from Terran players. You also have the Stargate play that has really been popularized by, who was it? White-Raw. White-Raw has really been popularizing the Stargate play in Protoss versus Terran, which is unheard of. I mean, when you think Stargate and Terran versus Protoss, you think 3-gate proxy Stargate all in just because your Terran opponent walled off. And I hate Terran. Blah, I don't want to play this matchup anymore. Well, you don't actually see that much anymore. It's actually just good old standard Protoss Stargate play. You're making a ton of oracles. You're looking super imbalanced if you're White-Raw. You're also going with some of those Void Rays, and the Void Rays have actually been changed as well. And I'm just going to go ahead and tell them I am ready as well. But yeah, so I'm really curious to see if, in fact, I think it was Gunslinger is, in fact, going to be the Protoss player, and Zimboss is, in fact, the Terran player. So we'll see if Gunslinger goes for some kind of Stargate play. We'll see if Zimboss goes for mech play, or if we're just going to see a standard old game. And, you know, I actually have some inclinations about what at least some of the players will do, just because I have been reading and researching on the After Hours Gaming League website, seeing what players are saying in their responses and maybe misinterpreting it. But hey, you know what? It's all in good fun. It's all about predicting. I don't know if you guys participate in liquid bets. It's all about just trying to guess who you think is going to win, and there's a lot of fun involved in that. And with that being said, game is getting started. I'm going to go ahead and update the overlay. It looks like I actually have the wrong overlay up right now. There we go. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and see Gunslinger representing Team Facebook facing off against Zimboss representing Team Amazon. And I'm pretty sure it's not pronounced Zimboss, but I really like making that sound effect, bouse, like a bouse. I don't know if you guys have seen that video, but regardless, we're going to go ahead and jump in. Oh, my water is so good. It's tasting so fresh, just like this match is about to be, as we go ahead and get started over here in the bottom left-hand corner of Daybreak LE. It is going to be the blue Protoss player representing no team other than Amazon. It is going to be Amazon's Zimboss and his opponent spawning up here in the top right-hand corner of of Daybreak LE. It is going to be the red Terran player representing Team Facebook. It is going to be Facebook's Gunslinger. And it looks like I was totally wrong on those race calls. I actually completely mixed it up. It was, in fact, Gunslinger being the Terran player. So we'll have to wait and see. And actually, here's what I read. If you go to the After Hours Gaming League website, which you guys should all go do, and check out some of the player profiles for all these players. And oh my god, hold that thought. What in the world? Oh, we're going to be seeing a little bit of cheese out of Zimboss. This is going to be pretty bouse of him. That is, I think it's a cheese. That's a really early probe scout, right? Or have I just been talking for that long? Have I been talking for that long? We're going to have to wait and see. I think actually I'm just completely talking out of my butt right now. I think that's a totally normal time probe. Anyways, moving right along. If you go to the After Hours Gaming League website and you check out to see what these players have said in their player profiles, we actually see Gunslinger talking a little bit about Heart of the Swarm, and he actually says that he's really excited about a lot of the bio changes. Now, I might be overreading this, but I think that Gunslinger is going to feel a little bit more comfortable just going for that bio style play. Now, here we actually have something interesting going on. We have a refinery already going down for Gunslinger, so this could actually mean we will be seeing some of that early actual mech play from the factory. Or we could just be seeing some kind of very fast 3 racks all in coming out of Gunslinger. Either way, it's refinery, especially with having those 3 SCVs this early on, mining gas instead of minerals, is going to delay any attempt at some kind of 1 racks expansion of the sort. So we'll have to wait and see how exactly Zimbal's going to actually respond. It looks like he's just going to be playing in a good old standard old Protoss play. Just going to go ahead and get up Cybernetics Core, get up the Gateway, single Gas Geyser. If he ends up taking that second Gas Geyser, that is going to say that, hey, you know what, I want to do a little bit of extra teching rather than going for that faster expansion. But as of right now, we don't actually see any of that. And in the meanwhile, Gunslinger is going to go ahead and complete that wall off and lower one of the supply depots just to make sure that another probe can actually get into the base if he's not paying attention. And in the meanwhile, we see that factory coming down, so it looks like we might actually see some of those cool Heart of the Swarm units for the first time in the entire best of 5 match. And a couple of Marines moving out actually from Gunslinger, so it looks like he's definitely living up to his name, really wants to be slinging those gun bullets over at those probes. And actually the probe moving in at the most baller timing, and oh, there we end up seeing the nice raise on that supply depot. And actually the probe sees, hey, you know, where in the world is your command center? Where is it now? And we actually see there's no command center inside of the base. The probe is going to get chased off, and the bunker is actually going to be there probably more as a fake out, just to kind of say, you know what, you don't really know if I'm expanding or not. Once, I mean, for all that the Protoss player knows, there could be an expansion or a command center right here, just building inside the main, and it's going to lift it off and put it down over there. So we're going to have to wait and see. Zimbal's does have 2 gateways up as well as an assimilator, but it looks like he does want to throw out that command or that nexus as he is saving up those minerals. We're going to have to wait and see how it's going to end up playing out, as he is going to have to make some kind of defense. The Stalker is poking around, seeing what damage he can do, does manage to almost pick off one of the, actually taking quite a bit of damage, but does manage to pick off that Marine. Generally, you want to take advantage of the fact that a Stalker has 1 additional range over those Marines. You can see 6 range and 0 range as he's actually dead. You can see the arms over there are not exactly touching the gun anymore, so they can't actually fire the gun anymore, and I consider that 0 range. But regardless, Marines do have 5 range, so Stalkers also move a little bit faster. You can take advantage of that and just deal a little bit of nice damage to those Marines and then regenerate with the shields. But Stalker going to be a little bit low in health. An empty bunker is going to do absolutely nothing, and oh my god, if Zimbal's actually realizes this, he will actually be able to move in over here and say, hey, you know what? I can just go ahead and get a scout off. He wants to know, has he expanded? Has his opponent expanded? It looks like, he's just going to go ahead and chill over here. Does not want to risk losing those Stalkers, despite the fact that there's only really 2 Marines over there. Now, he's going to make use of a nice little tactic that you can do. He's going to pull back these Stalkers, just continuously try and do some damage. He can regenerate those shields without any fear. But here we end up seeing, we're going to be seeing a 1-1-1 build coming out of Gunslinger. And Gunslinger, I mean, he's just kind of throwing it back. He says, you know what? 1-1-1. I don't care if it's Heart of the Swarm. I can still do this. Do you remember how painful it was, Protoss players? I'm a Protoss player, and I freaking hated the 1-1-1. Oh my god, I lost so many games to it. So now we're going to end up seeing, does actually Zimbos remember how to hold off a 1-1-1? Now, I will say, here are some changes in Heart of the Swarm that's going to benefit Zimbos. He has the Mothership Core, and the Mothership Core will be able to allow him to just use that Photon Overcharge over on that Nexus. And with the Photon Overcharge on the Nexus, he's going to have a Nexus with 10 range. It's going to have the same range as a Siege tank, basically, in Siege mode, which, by the way, doesn't have to research Siege mode anymore. So, I mean, there's that. That's just going to speed up the 1-1-1 potentially a little bit. The other question I'm going to have to wait for to see is there in fact going to be a cloak research? Doesn't look like it right now, so that's going to be a bit interesting, as generally you do end up wanting to research cloak when you go for this 1-1-1. But we actually see another barracks actually just being added on, so going to be a curious little attack, but it's going to be very, very strong and very scary, and Zimbos is going to definitely have to just prepare for this perfectly. He's going to have to micro this out perfectly, because if you make any mistakes holding this off, it's going to be so difficult. But look at this. He's actually sitting on 2 gateways. He's just now adding on a 3rd gateway, but he's going for an incredibly fast Psionic Storm. Now, this Banshee is going to be coming in over here. Now, here's one thing that you have to remember, is that Banshees, especially if they do not have Cloak, can actually just be instantly fed back in just a little bit. Now, this Banshee is going to be able to rack up a couple of kills, but if this High Templar can feed back this Banshee, instantly do a ton of damage. Do we end up seeing it? Yes, and now it looks like the Banshee should be able to go down. There it goes. And this Stalker being very, very happy, or one of these 2 Stalkers being very happy about killing off that Banshee. And that actually is going to alert Zimboss a little bit about what's going on. He's going to say, hey, wait a second. My opponent had a Banshee. I mean, he hadn't really seen a whole lot of what his opponent was up to. But now, oh my god, the Money Probe Scout. He sees the SCV is being pulled. This is so important. Zimboss should know exactly what's going on. He's going to have to prepare so perfectly. He needs to warp in some additional gateways. He's going for a robotics facility. This is really interesting. I think he doesn't know if his opponent has actually gone for Cloak with those Banshees. He has to be so careful. This High Templar does not have enough energy for a Psionic Storm just quite yet. He has to be so careful once again. I feel like maybe, yeah, the cannons will be definitely a nice little addition, but he has to be so careful because those cannons are, in fact, a little bit further ahead of that Nexus. So if, in fact, a Gunslinger is very smart about it, where he positions those Siege Tanks and sieges up, he should be able to take out these Siege Tanks without being in range of the Photon Overcharge, but the Photon Overcharge should be able to be done twice. And there we see a nice feedback on that Banshee, and the Stalker actually so amazingly surviving that. But now we end up seeing, oh, the High Templar getting a magnificent storm. There are no medevacs out on the map right now. That means that these Marines are basically left with all of that health for the entire rest of the game, probably. That Stalker basically getting blown out to smithereens and no chance of surviving over there. But look at this. I mean, all of these SCVs are sitting over here. There's no expansion over here. There's an expansion that's going to be thrown down very soon. But, I mean, the longer that Gunslinger actually waits with this aggression, the worse of a position he's going to be in. It looks like he realized that he's going to go ahead and try and siege up these tanks. Oh, look at this bunker positioning. This bunker will not be able to go up. But now we do end up seeing that all these units are going to start to try and come in. These siege tanks are just doing so much damage. I don't exactly agree with Zimboss's decision to move in over there. Now, he does actually have a Stalker on the high ground. And, oh, the Photon Overcharge making use of itself. Getting a couple hits off on that Banshee, and this is such a tense moment. We see a Psionic Storm being thrown down, and all of the SCVs go down except for one building the bunker, and that is going to be a money win for Zimboss. And that Banshee is also so low on health. If, in fact, oh, if this High Templar can actually get a feedback off on that Banshee, he's going to have 0 high ground vision. Do we have any additional Banshees coming out? I don't see any of the production kit tab, and I mean, that could actually be, oh, that could be devastating, because then what? I mean, he's going to be relying on scans. Yeah, he does have actually 2 scans saved up, so very wise, but now we also have an Immortal out. He's taking out those Siege Tanks. He's taking them out so quickly, and this Immortal just needs to retreat a little bit, but he's probably not going to realize that there are, in fact, 2 scans available. This one SCV going to be so important for repairing up those siege tanks, as he needs to keep those alive as long as possible, because he can transition out of this. He just needs to have enough time to get up the economy to actually just be able to power up behind this. But he needs to keep this contain alive for as long as possible. Where is the scan? He needs to throw down the scan. He's going to lose 1 siege tank. He only has 1 siege tank left. He has a couple of Marines over there. He's going to lose the other siege tank. That could spell doom and disaster. I mean, there's an Archon out. There's going to be even a ton of High Templar out. So these Marines, yeah, they're going to have to go ahead and retreat on home. They have no chance of surviving against the storm potential, especially when none of them have stim pack research. That is going to be absolutely terrible. A terrible time for them if they are not prepared for that. But it looks like Zimboss realizes the position that he's in. He's going to go ahead and move out with the units that he does have. Now, I'm actually not sure if this is a good idea or if he should just wait a little bit longer. Now, he should actually be familiar with the fact that, hey, my opponent is probably trying to transition out at this point. But is it going to be too soon? Is he going to attack with just, oh, actually, it looks like he's going to go ahead and pull back. Did he actually catch a glimpse of this Marine? Yeah, I think he just caught a glimpse of that Marine. He's going to go ahead and take that out, and then maybe return to knocking down those destructible rocks. And I like the idea of knocking down those destructible rocks. He knows that he wants to attack sometime in the near future. But if he attacks too soon, then he might not have a large enough army. He might not have had enough time to prepare. I mean, look at this. So much of his army is actually just in High Templar. High Templar are amazing against Marines. won your Psionic Storming, but there's a certain point where like you just don't have enough Psionic Storms. You need to have some kind of good buffer. You know, he does have a good number of Zealots, but will his opponent have enough? I think that there are quite a few Marines over here, and as long as Gunslinger does some magnificent splitting, he still has a chance in this. We actually have a Raven out as well, and some Psionic Storms completely whiffing, getting us 2 SCVs over into the orange, and there is some good Psionic Storms, actually nailing down a couple of more of those SCVs, as well as some of those Marines, and now another Psionic Storm whiffing, but these Marines are basically completely trapped. Look at how many more Psionic Storms there are still left. We have some more Psionic Storms going down on those SCVs, and it looks like Amazon loving their Psionic Storm, going for the slow with that Mothership Core that was recently given that ability from the Oracle, and now we see the Archons morphing in, all the Marines getting taken out, the natural expansion going to be taken down, the Immortals just racking up the kills, and Zimbal's taking the victory for Team Amazon, evening it up the series 1-1.